Warning, the following episode contains graphic images. From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. Here are the facts. You may have heard of Richard Ramirez, the notorious serial killer who operated in San Francisco and Los Angeles from 1984 to 1985. He's commonly called the Night Stalker and died of medical complications while awaiting execution on San Quentin's death row. However, before Ramirez's short reign of terror, another killer operated in California. From the mid-1970s to at least the mid-1980s, people across Santa Barbara, Ventura, and Orange County were terrorized by what investigators originally thought were two unrelated criminals: a prolific burglar known as the East Area Rapist, and a deranged, sadistic murderer called the original Night Stalker. The killer prepared obsessively, observing his victims and, often, breaking into their homes beforehand to familiarize himself with the layout, to steal trinkets, and to remove any potential weapons. Once he struck, the murderer rejoiced in sadism, assuring victims he only wanted money until after he tied them up, assaulting the female victims. He'd wander around the house between assaults, occasionally helping himself to food in the fridge. Unlike Richard Ramirez, this killer was never apprehended. So what happened? Here's where it gets crazy. He may still be alive. Investigators believe the murderer was younger at the time of his crimes, possibly in his mid to late 20s, meaning that as of 2016 he could be in his 50s to mid 60s. Law enforcement built an extensive profile of the criminal, tracing the increasing deterioration of the killer's self-control and mental state as his crimes escalated from burglary to rape to torture and murder. His use of distinctive knots indicated a possible involvement with maritime or ranching professions. The extensive time this individual put into his crimes, as well as his use of different vehicles, led some to believe he had either a wealthy background or a profession that gave him access to a range of cars. The killer also called victims on the phone before or after his crimes to taunt or intimidate them. Like similar serial murderers, this killer was desperate for attention, even sending poorly written poetry to the Sacramento Bee. The last known contact from the Night Stalker occurred in 1991 when he made a phone call to a former victim. More than 20 years after his last contact with the public, investigators, survivors, and journalists are all asking the same questions. What happened? Why did the original Night Stalker disappear? Are there any clues we have somehow missed? According to psychological profiler Leslie D'Ambrosia, it's possible that the killer was himself killed in a botched attempt at a break-in, or incarcerated for another crime, or even attempted suicide. Surprisingly, the profilers don't believe there's much chance of the murderer being locked in a mental institution. Amateur investigators around the globe have pored over these facts as well, leading to numerous circumstantial connections and countless threads of speculation. At the time of this recording, federal authorities still consider the case open, and one disturbing possibility remains: that the killer could be alive, still somehow functioning, in a dormant period similar to that of Dennis Rader, the BTK killer. If so, that's certainly something the original Night Stalker doesn't want you to know. Learn more about the original Night Stalker in our audio podcast, available at stufftheydon'twantyoutoKnow.com.